Mario Kart Wii, a staple racing game of the late 2000s and early 2010s. Many call this game the wine of the franchise, as it is still popular competitively to this day. Hi, I'm Bubbler, or as those in Lounge may know me better as Dehydrated Water. This is the full story of how I managed to become one of the lowest ranked Mario Kart Wii players in the world. It will follow all of the ups and mainly downs, and how I became so attached to this game despite being pretty awful at it. I really hope you enjoy. But before I begin, I would like to give a huge thanks to these people: Princess Emma, Parker, Isaac, Alaya, Alana, Shiny, Zekris, Mayura, and so many others that I have on screen right now that I can't think of off the top of my head. Thank you guys so very much. You've kept my passion and motivation for this game alive. I think of you all as friends. Once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Now, let's move on to the story. I joined Lounge on the 15th of May 2024, but the story starts way before then, when I was just 2, when I was first gifted a Wii. Mario Kart Wii was one of the first video games I'd ever played. I loved it so much I did not realize that there was still an active community until around 4 years ago, when I discovered Troy, or TWD98 as he's known in the Mario Kart Wii community. I downloaded CTGP a few years later when I got the motivation to set the Wii up properly. I loved the game so much as a child and wondered whether people still played. In 2024, Troy posted a video showing the final ever war he played on the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection service when they shut down around a decade ago. This piqued my interest as I had no idea that the competitive Mario Kart Wii realm or scape even existed. So I did a little digging and found out that there was a Discord server full of competitive players, and it still existed. Thus, I joined Lounge. When you first join Lounge, you have to verify your FC with a bot, among other things. So I booted up my Wii, did what I needed to do, and voila, I'd become a member of this community. No idea what would follow in the few months ahead. When I had some free time, I queued up for my first ever Mogi, unsure of what to do. When the queue filled, only a couple of minutes later, we had to vote on a mode to play. The options were FFA, 2v2 with 6 teams, 3v3 with 4 teams, 4v4 with 3 teams, and 6v6 with 2 teams. I decided that the best course of action was to pick FFA. It would be a good way to gauge my skill against others. However, as most Lounge players know, 2v2 is the most common game mode, so 6-4, 2v2 won, and I was paired up with Zekris. As a new player, I was expecting Tier 1 to be pretty chill, maybe a few sweats but nothing too hard. Boy was I wrong. Over the course of the Mogi, I only racked up 10 points, a measly total compared to the 81 I believe was scored by my teammate. As usual, I was told to do some time trials before returning to Lounge again. As ever defiant, however, I decided to queue up again, believing that maybe I was just unlucky. I don't recall exactly what went down, but I do remember that the game mode was 2v2 and that I was asked to DC GP3, meaning I scored 18 automatically, and that was it for day 1. I played a bit of Mario Kart Wii throughout that week, doing some time trials and playing online through WiiFi. At this point, you may be questioning why I even played Lounge. I definitely did not have and still don't have what it takes to even score what I should at least be doing, around 54, as this is what you would get if you DC'd each GP. Well, it is simply due to the fact that there's no one online at most good Australian hours on WeFi or other servers. Time zones suck here. The only place where I could play Mario Kart Wii with 12 players, proper item roulettes, and just to improve was on Lounge. So, next weekend I rejoined the Lounge Discord server to try my luck again. Now, let's skip forward to May 25th, 2024, where I played one of the funniest Mogies I think has ever happened. However, not for my teammate. This time, I was watching the popular Valorant streamer Zekken, who decided to play Mario Kart Wii Lounge. In my mind, I was thinking, sweet, so I canned up for the next Mogi. Of course, 2v2 was once again picked. I got put with the highest MMR player in the room. Oh yes, MMR and LR. What are they, and how do they work? I think Lucas explains it best, so here's a snippet from his video.
This is how the ranking system works in Lounge as of Season 7. There is a lot to the system, so I will be explaining it in depth first, with a brief summary at the end. There are two different rankings in Lounge, LR and MMR. First, let's talk about LR since that is the main ranking used in Season 7 of Lounge. There are many different ranks that you can obtain, and your LR determines which rank you have. Here is a list of all the ranks and the LR required for each rank for both RTs and CTs. The way you gain or lose LR is different to the more traditional way that was used for MMR in previous seasons. To start, placing in the top half of players or teams will be a guaranteed gain, and placing in the bottom half will be a guaranteed loss. For example, the top 6 players in an FFA will gain LR, and the bottom 6 players in an FFA will lose LR. In a 2v2, the top 3 teams will gain and the bottom 3 teams will lose, and so forth for other formats. Your LR gain and loss is not only determined by your placement, but also by the difference between your LR and MMR. If there is a big difference between your LR and MMR, then you will gain more and lose less, and vice versa. This is quite complicated, though in case any of you wonder why your gain and loss is different to that of your teammates, this is why. Now moving on to MMR. MMR is what determines your class, and your class determines what tier you can play. Here is a list of all the classes that you can obtain and the MMR you need to obtain them, as well as what tiers you can play in at each class. The way you gain and lose MMR is different from LR. With MMR, it is possible to gain and lose from any position depending on your average compared to the room, with first and last being the exceptions. For example, if my team has the lowest average in the room, gaining for 4th in a 2v2 is possible. However, if my team has the highest average in the room, losing for 3rd in a 2v2 is possible. In summary, LR determines your rank, MMR determines your class. You must place in the top half to gain LR, and gaining MMR is dependent on your average in comparison to the lineup. Lastly, please note that your individual score does not affect your LR and MMR gains, only your placement. For example, if I get first in a 2v2 with 80 points, I will gain the same amount as if I get first with 100 points.
Now that you understand what the rating systems are in Mogi Lounge, the person I got put with had both the highest MMR and LR in the room. I was very worried. As a dry Bowser main, I did not want to get singled out and score very badly, so I just decided to lock the fuck in. Just kidding, I scored awfully. After that disgusting Mogi, where my teammate Glaceon completely carried with a crazy 121 point Mogi, I was ridiculed by most of the players after only scoring 19 points. However, I think it was mostly just banter. This Mogi, amongst many others, would make me known in the community as one of the worst to ever set foot in the Lounge server. People would often ask for a sub if I was their teammate, or tell me to DC GP3 so I at least score 18 points. A few weeks later, I canned up again to play some more Lounge. That day we played some 4v4, which is the least common format. I was put on the team with 3 high quality players, Rex, Negitoro and Zia. Well, high quality for the room we were about to play in. This Mogi was special because I just got to play. No one asked me to DC or anything. Going into the first GP, we were confident because our team had the highest average MMR in the room by a considerable margin, which with me in the team is very rare. At this point, I had just dipped into the negative 2k MMR range with 0 wins to my name. After GP1, we had a considerable lead over the other teams, and from this point on, Rex and Negitoro decided to go beast mode and score 126 and 121 points respectively throughout the Mogi. Zia also cooked, putting up a score of 81, while I PB'd with a score of 33. Measly yes, but an improvement nonetheless. Our scores combined totaled 361, which put us at the top of notables, which shows the best Mogis in that game mode and tier, considering this game mode isn't played very often though. To this day, that Mogi still has my highest ever gain in MMR and LR, thanks to these fellas who didn't make me sub out. This was a turning point I hoped. Maybe I could pick myself out of this slump with some practice and time. Boy was I wrong. In my time playing Mario Kart Wii, I've held a few world records. 200cc Phantom Peaks, and Baby Park with the Sneakster. But none I find are as funny or as stupid as the losing streak record for Lounge, at least for this season, which I set as 34. It almost doesn't fit in a single screenshot. That's how large the distance between my first and second win is. But how did I do it? Most of the Mogis I played during that time were either FFA, where each player plays with themselves and the top 6 is counted as wins, or 2v2, which I've talked about previously. During an FFA, I was actually able to score a 43 point Mogi without any DC points, so I was pretty stoked about that. Also outscoring someone in an FFA for the first time. However, during this period, it was also a massive slump in my performance. My average score was less than 30, and people were subbing as soon as I became teammates with them. However, there were some nice people like Parker and Emma who didn't sub and decided to actually play and help me improve. As I've already said, thank you so much to you and to the many others who are still chill with me. It means the world. Anyway, during this time, I'm Shock, Dama and I, the 3 bottom ranked players, all queued up at the same time in an FFA. This was a battle of the titans to see who truly was the best of the worst. No surprises here, but we got bottom 3. I'm Shock and Dama, however, both had some of their best Mogis, while I sat around and scored a measly 29 points. However, since I was able to gain some MMR points from a few 4th places in 2v2s, which don't technically count as wins according to the system, even though I gained MMR, I'm still able to say I'm better than them, according to MMR anyway. It is no secret that I'm not the best at Mario Kart Wii. However, my worst format by far is 6v6. I think it's because I don't want to mess up any of my teammates.
And box now, box now, box for hard. Stay out, stay out.
Fuck! Why?
Multifunction tire, position 5. Multifunction tire, position 5.
So I play very safe, causing me to score very poorly. Anyway, in the slump, I played 2 of my worst Mogis since the very beginning of my time in Lounge, averaging just 15 points across both 6v6s. I'm also deathly afraid of voice calls, even though I use my voice on YouTube, so every time I had a shock or a dodge item, I'd either not talk and hold the item till I thought it was a good time to use it, or talk and have a massive voice crack, which was kind of funny to be honest. These 6v6s were the bane of my existence. However, they were fun to play because you get to hear your teammates talking about the other team in a funny way, knowing that they had no idea what they were even talking about. The second of these 6v6s, I got put in a team with Zia again, Parker, Sin, Alaya, and Walks. I knew I was in for a good result even if I didn't do well. Our MMR average was so much higher than the other teams. So I decided to stay and hope that my teammates would carry me out of my negative 34 win streak. And carry they did. Zia scored his best ever Mogi of 140 points, which was an insane score. Parker scored 118, almost equaling his best ever Mogi. Sin scored 90, Elias 66, and Willock sold 54. This was incredible for me. I had done it. The losing streak was over. Our score even made the notables list, which was very cool. I believe I now have the lowest score on notables. What a fitting record. Recently, in a 2v2, I was able to score 45-point Mogi with a win on BC3 using Birdo. This also had my best ever GP where I scored 24 points. So I believe in time more improvements will come. Mario Kart Wii is such a fun game and is my passion, so to all the doubters out there, no, I will not be leaving Lounge or competitive Mario Kart Wii anytime soon. Through the highs and lows, I've had fun all the way, meeting new people and creating friendships with those who care. If any of you guys wish to join the Lounge server, it'll be linked in the description. I also want to thank you all so much for watching, it means the world to me. I'll see you all next time, bye for now.
Thank you.